Alright guys, so I've just been informed Joe Rogan, who is the #1 podcaster in the world, a retired MMA fighter and also an attempted comedian.
I'm friends with Elon Musk, which is the intellectual equivalent of a boy and his dog.
Apparently did an oopsie and said a bunch of pretty Z pro-Russian stuff on his on his amazing, wonderful podcast, #1 in the world, by the way. And apparently the king of alternative media is in some hot water because, I guess he pretty much said "F you" to the Ukrainian people and to Zelensky himself, the president of Ukraine. He's kind of put the blame on them for, leading us all to World War III.
I feel safer knowing that Trump is in office.
I do too.
I feel great about it.
What I don't feel safer is right now they're launching missiles into Russia.
Yeah.
How are you allowed to do that when you're on the way out?
I mean, look, I don't know shit about politics.
Zelensky says Putin is terrified. Fuck you, man. Fuck you people. You fucking people are about to start World War III.
Guys, I have to be honest, I really am not surprised that he said this. In fact, it seems like this is a larger trend now for a lot of conservatives in the West to essentially simp for Russia in a way, and a lot of grifters are doing it. Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, of course, is also in this Kremlin arc right now. Like, the things he's been saying for the past 1.5 years have basically been absolutely Z. And I've always found it funny, right? Because it's almost like that meme. You started hating Elon Musk because he says stupid stuff about Russia and Ukraine. Me, though, I've hated him for a long time now for a plethora of reasons. We are not the same. Gus Fring fixing his tie, right? But yeah, once again, being serious, this is something that I've noticed for a long time now, that a lot of conservatives in the West have this kind of weird obsession with Russia, where they think Russia is this like most free, most conservative, most base country in existence or whatever. They basically flat out think that Putin is like the good guy in this entire situation or whatever.
Either have to vote for Kamala or Putin. Who do you choose?
Oh, definitely Putin.
Putin.
Really? Why?
Absolutely. He's for his people.
So, hey there everybody, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and in today's video, I would like to discuss and try to explain why, I think at least, so many Westerners, and especially Western conservatives these days, simp for Russia, and think that Russia is like the greatest country in existence. And look, this is something that I'm very passionate about because it's something that's always pissed me off. How a lot of these people idolize Russia, and yet they don't understand that we, Russian citizens, don't actually have the same access to free speech and freedom of speech on the internet as they do, because what Russia does is that it bans all the alternative media outlets and also is banning pretty much all social media now. They ban Discord, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X. I mean, they're essentially coming for everything. So look, yes, in Russia these days, right now, just to post a story on Instagram, just to watch a YouTube video, you have to turn on a VPN, because that's how restrictive everything has gotten. And once again, in this reality, it's always been really strange to me that conservatives, or Westerners in general, right, who claim that they enjoy and love Western values of freedom and free speech and so on, freedom of expression, it was always very strange to me that these people simp for Russia. Why does it happen? Well, the first reason is really because Russia, thanks to Russian propaganda essentially, currently has an image of being this epic, traditional, conservative, sort of orthodox Christian, pure country, right, that absolutely has zero problems and that is doing just fine. And a lot of these people think that the United States could learn a thing or two from Russia, actually. Basically, to put it short, because the West is woke and my wife left me and took the kids, right? And because Russia is not this authoritarian oppressive regime, but that it's actually a strong country that is kind of a safe haven for conservative, traditional, religious, and white values, yes. And look, I'm pretty sure if you're American, you probably have a few people that you know that essentially simp for Russia in a certain sense, because they think it's some kind of conservative utopia.
You see, I have the Z tattooed on my chin. I got that tattooed the second day of the special operation because I was so happy about it. But I walked around the center of Moscow for 1 hour. I said, wow. I don't see any gays and liberals on the streets. I see men and women couples. I don't see transvestites. I don't see homeless people. This place is heaven on earth. I'm moving here forever.
Yes, basically that. These people say that Russia has more free speech, is a more free country than America, that Russia has cleaner and safer streets compared to anywhere in America, less homeless people, less drug addicts and, undesirables walking around, and also a better judicial system and better policing, right? I mean, yeah, it's funny. It's really funny when you're a Russian and you're listening to this coming from a Western person because you think you're being insane, insanely gaslit, right? Like, really, do I really have to debunk this one? Once again, I don't remember the United States inventing a law where they would jail people for from 7 to 15 years in prison for speaking out against the Iraq war, right? the special military operation in Iraq. That never happens. I don't remember that happening. People getting cancelled and woke culture or whatever is not the same as being in the gulag for saying a couple of words. For example, some of you who watch my channel may remember that I've previously talked about how even street interviews in Russia can be dangerous and can be your end essentially, and there was this guy here, Yuri Kakhovets, a citizen of Russia from Moscow, who was interviewed on the street in Russia, and he essentially spoke out against the war and so on.
Разрядка нужна, конечно, но все зависит от нашего правительства. Это, наше правительство развязало. Вот Путин, его гоп-компания, Россия сама себе создала вот эти все проблемы.
And yeah, in that video I mentioned that the guy was on trial, and right now, yes, he's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for a street interview, okay, for expressing an opinion. Yes, guys, again, way worse than woke cancel culture. Russia is so free. Now when it comes to like safer and cleaner streets, sure, they're clean I guess in Moscow or other large cities, and even then the cleanliness is debatable, but I don't think the streets are safer in general, right? I mean, sure, yes, the streets were safer maybe before the war started. Right now though, you have motherfuckers who were in prison for like killing and raping people, who are literally going to the war in Ukraine in order to get free, then they come back from the war and they continue killing and raping people. This stuff is happening like every single week now in Russia. There's a new news story about how some, once again, participant of the special military operation, who was previously an inmate for doing something terrible, came back from the war and killed somebody. This is happening all the time. So yes, I don't think so, okay? And once again, if we talk about law and policing, the fact that it's better in Russia, again, please quit being silly, okay? Once again, they're literally letting criminals go, who then commit terrible acts inside Russia, and at the same time they have situations where they jail like elderly people for nothing. Elderly doctors. For example, there's been a story recently of Nadezhda Buyanova going viral, who is a Russian therapist, like a child doctor, whatever, who's been accused of saying something that discredited the armed forces of Russia during a hospital visit, right? There is no proof or anything for all of this, by the way. Not even a camera recording or anything, no voice recording, no nothing, just hearsay. And what happened is that this elderly lady who is 67 years old, okay, she was just sentenced to 5.5 years in prison for, once again, discrediting the armed forces of Russia for a private conversation that she supposedly had, right? There's no proof that it even happens. And she's once again a lady who's worked as a doctor for her entire life, who's just been sentenced to 5.5 years in prison at the age of 67. Again, I do not see how this is a normal country with like good law and policing. Sure, the American justice can be insane and the American police is not great. Definitely not saying that American police is great either. It is not. But Russia does not have better policing or whatever. I mean, to put it simply, really, these people just don't know anything about Russia and what is actually happening. And I guess the grass just seems greener on the other side. And I'm not saying that the West is perfect, right? It has its issues, and I understand why you might be looking for an alternative. But no, Russia is not some kind of libertarian laissez-faire paradise. It really all comes down to not knowing anything about Russia. Like, even when it comes to this entire traditional religious conservative values thing, right? These people think that Russia is a country that is just way more traditional, religious and so on and based in the United States, but I really don't think so. I mean, it is maybe slightly, and it is becoming more conservative legally, right? Because Russia is banning the LGBT, it is like planning to ban abortions, so on and so on, right? But when it comes to the values of the actual people living in Russia, I wouldn't say all of them are like deeply religious or conservative or traditional. Not at all. Once again, a lot of these people essentially think that Russia has no gay people, woke people, or liberals or whatever, which is nonsense because Russian people, just like any other type of people, can have political beliefs on any, side of the spectrum, because people are very different. Shocker, shocker, surprise. What can I say? There's gay people in Russia. I mean, I've met them, I know quite a few, like, they're actually pretty common in society, once again, also. And even if it might be not as outwardly displayed as in the West, it is there. And the only reason why it's not outwardly displayed is because Russia is not letting people do it. It's not some kind of self-restraint of the Russian, based conservative traditional psyche. And also, of course, a lot of these people think that Russian women are completely different from, women in the West, that, they're all anti-woke, they're not, down with all this feminist bullcrap. They're proper tradwives who will cook and clean and stay in the kitchen. No, that is not the case at all. I understand why this is happening, because Russia really exploits and uses this idea and image of like a Russian Slavic tradwife. We have plenty of characters like Natalia Poklonskaya, the prosecutor of Crimea, for example. Perfect sort of Slavic tradwife specimen right there, right? Or even the propaganda music that is coming out. Matushka Zemlya, you know what I'm saying? How they have to look very traditional Slavic, you know, traditional costumes and everything in the field type of shit. Russia is definitely feeding that tradwife, you know, Slavic fantasy. But the real truth when you get down to it is that women in Russia are pretty emancipated. Once again, I've been talking about this. The Soviet Union at certain times in its history was more progressive as far as women's rights go compared to a lot of countries in the West, even the United States. Women in position of power and being, you know, bosses is pretty common in Russia. Overall, women in Russia actually do care about the issues of their rights and like abortion and domestic abuse and so on. Like, I really do feel like Russian women overall are pretty rather feminist than not. Of course, you have the pick-me girls, but like, you have those everywhere. Every country has their own just pearly things, you know what I'm saying? But this idea that a lot of these conservative Russian simps have that, you know, here I am, just a nobody in America, my wife left me once again. I don't know, I'm a fuck up, nobody likes me, I can't get women, everybody thinks that I'm a creep and, you know, I'm a weirdo and nobody likes my politics. It's not me, I'm not the problem, it cannot be me, it's everybody, it's the whole society, it's women. Women in America just, you know, fucked up. That is why I have to go to Russia and find myself a beautiful Slavic tradwife that will cook and clean and shut up and will not be done with this nonsensical woke BS and, you know, feminism, right? Again, good luck, bro, good luck. I really hope it's gonna happen for you, but like, all I'm saying is it is not going to pan out the way you imagine it will. Now also something that has to be factored in, I guess, is that a lot of what we're seeing here coming out from people like Elon Musk and, you know, Joe Rogan once again is basically just good old isolationism, you know, a belief that the United States or, you know, any country, whatever, should kind of be involved in its own affairs and that they should not meddle with other countries or, you know, so on and so on. Which is a very basic populist take, right? And yes, a lot of these people, they just think that they can negotiate with Vladimir Putin and simply kind of concede some land to him, be like, alright bro, you've kind of come far now, right? We don't want to start a World War III here, so let us just give you half of Ukraine and you'll stop there, right? That is gonna be the end of it and we're all gonna be living, you know, in peace and, you know, business as usual, essentially. Being Russian myself and seeing how insane the government is, I really don't have, you know, high hopes that, you know, things are stopping anytime soon. Especially by the rhetoric of Russian propaganda these days, you know, how Russia is not gonna stop at Ukraine, essentially. I don't know, guys, I'm not really having any good predictions here. And all in all, it reminds me a lot of this. This is something that I've seen on Twitter. I don't know this myself, guys. I'm not that smart. But yeah, people have been comparing what Joe Rogan said to this "Why Die for Danzig" slogan, which is a pro-appeasement, anti-war French slogan during the World War II, right? So here it says, the phrase originated in the title of an article by the French neo-socialist Marcel Déat, I guess. The article concerned one of Nazi German ultimatums to the Second Polish Republic regarding the demand to transfer control of the free city of Danzig, now Gdańsk, to Germany. In the article, Déat argued in favor of appeasement. He asserted that France had no interest in defending Poland and that German Chancellor Adolf Hitler would be satisfied after receiving the territory he rightfully, according to Déat, demanded. He accused the Poles of warmongering and dragging Europe into a war, and he argued that the Frenchmen should not be called to die paying for responsible Polish politicking, and expressed doubts about whether Poland would be able to fight any significant amount of time. So you guys get it, right? And you know, I'm not the one to draw the parallels here. I didn't even come up with this, to be honest. Once again, something I've stolen from somebody on Twitter. I don't even remember who it was, right? But I think it's quite interesting, right? I mean, I do think it's quite, it does really remind you of something. It does really remind you of certain people and the way they act right now and the kind of rhetoric they have. And I understand, yes, it's a different time, it's a different place, but, you know, the parallels are really there. And again, I don't really know if it's a good look, Joe Rogan. And also, another reason why I believe that this is happening is because it almost seems like the Russian cult of personality of Vladimir Putin, of, you know, saying that he's a great leader, he's the greatest leader ever in, like, history and so on, and that nobody can do what he's doing, and that he's, like, a genius strategist, that he's just the greatest at what he does, right? It's really quite interesting how, once again, thanks to Russian propaganda, this kind of strongman image of Vladimir Putin being this epic ex-spy, you know, James Bond badass who just, you know, does it all. This cult of personality has spread from Russia to the West now, it seems like, and there are a lot of people right now in the West, in America and so on, who are, you know, essentially idolizing Vladimir Putin and, you know, his kind of strongman image, okay? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this before. You've probably seen, like, YouTube comments or something like that saying, I wish we had a leader like Vladimir Putin over here in America or, you know, in England or whatever. Now, this is a real leader, a real man who really cares about his own people and who does everything for the benefit of of his own people. Now this is a leader that is not corrupt like our, assholes in power or whatever. And again, it's something that I've always found funny. You would always see these kind of comments on like, YouTube has almost kind of a genre of these Putin badass compilations or whatever, where he's like walking around or whatever to awesome cool music, or he's like shown walking into a governmental factory and pretending to be hard on corruption, right? Putin being badass compilation. And on those videos, you see those comments saying we want a leader like Putin all the time. And again, it raises questions for me as a Russian who's, kind of tired of seeing the same face for 25 years in a row, you know what I'm saying? And when before this was kind of like a fringe opinion, now it seems like it's kind of mainstream, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people believe it. I mean, you've probably seen videos of Americans being asked whether they would vote for Kamala or Putin if they had the chance.
You either have to vote for Kamala or Putin. Who do you choose?
Oh, definitely Putin.
Putin.
Really? Why?
Absolutely. He's for his people. He is for his people.
Putin's values on family and on traditions and, protecting children. It almost sounds like, I'm not a pro-Putin guy.
And yes, a lot of the Americans do respond Vladimir Putin. They would rather vote for Vladimir Putin. And here, once again, I'd say these people just don't know what they're talking about. They do not know what is happening inside of Russia, which is why they're making statements saying that this is a leader that really cares about his people, Because I don't think he cares about his people in the slightest. But it's not only because people are just misinformed. To a lot of people, this kind of authoritarian strongman leader is a very appealing concept. They really want it. It's like these weird people on Twitter who are, simping over Trump, saying that he should become a dictator. And in particular, the people who simp for Baron Trump, who are like comparing him to Roman emperors and so on and doing weird shit like that. Like, he's a child that we literally never heard speak once. And you already essentially want him to rule over you. Like, this is some kind of weird cult of personality obsession that really does feel like something very Soviet to me almost. And as a Russian guy who's trying to escape that stuff, I really don't get it. I really don't get why you're so obsessed with this guy. And look, may I say something now that might be considered crazy? I mean, aren't conservatives kind of just really not that empathetic, usually? Or not even conservatives, but kind of like libertarian guys like Joe Rogan or whatever. They kind of think everybody should kind of, take care of themselves, right? Basically. Put yourself out by your bootstraps. No socially subsidized stuff. And this might be just me, leftist schizo, but I do think that a lot of people on the right, especially people who have like far-right beliefs, they don't have a lot of empathy for other people, man. And this is why Joe Rogan is like going off at Ukrainians and Zelensky in that infamous clip.
Man.
It's because he cannot simply put himself in their shoes. He just looks at it and he's like, oh, these fucking assholes ruining my day. I'm here chilling in my cold plunge or whatever, and they're starting World War III, these goddamn Ukrainians. He doesn't want to learn about the situation. He doesn't want to learn what is happening. He doesn't want to learn what Russia's role in all of this is. He just thinks Russia is like some perfect base country that has never actually done anything bad. And, Putin is just a guy that wants peace, guys. Let's just give him half of Ukraine, guys, once again. Just think he cannot put himself in their shoes. Like, why would you say that? Why would you say go fuck yourself to a people that, are essentially defending themselves and who are probably already very traumatized by what is going on, right? So why would you say that, being, such a huge podcaster with such a huge audience? I don't know, Joe. I think you need to get out more. Get out more of your fucking epic Elon Musk dark MAGA bubble, right? And I mean, this is kind of what it comes down to. They don't care about what happens to millions of people. They don't know any history whatsoever. They barely know anything about the countries that they're talking about and what is actually happening in those countries. And once again, to me as a Russian who's left Russia and who's, really annoyed at where Russia is going, it is quite annoying to me, once again, seeing Westerners from countries that seemingly, have access to free information or whatever, acting like this and praising people who are once again, like, destroying our people and ruining the lives of our people. A lot of people are gonna look at this as, left versus right, conservative versus leftist thing. For me, this is not even like a team sports issue, okay? For me, this right here is an issue of being from Russia, being from Eastern Europe, right? Growing up in that corrupt society, and once again, seeing it visibly get worse for, my entirety of my young adult life. Just with that experience that I have and the fact that I had to flee my country, I don't really appreciate the point of view that Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and the like have. Okay? I just don't, and I can't really do anything about it, so hate me if you want, guys. I am not going to change. But yes, I guess that is going to be pretty much it for today's video though. I just wanted to kind of dive in and try to explain to you guys why a lot of, Westerners these days think that Russia's like awesome base and they simp for it. We live in dark times, guys. There's a lot of idiots around. Do your best, luck in, and we're all gonna make it, okay? We are. Yeah, guys, that being said, I hope you liked this video. If you guys did enjoy it, then please make sure to slap that like on it. And also, if you guys would like to support me additionally, that is financially, then go over to the link down in the description and become a YouTube member. It is basically like YouTube's own version of Patreon. It's a monthly donation. It's the best way to support me. Or you could also do a super thanks underneath this video for a one-time donation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.